Of the world's most deadly creatures. You're all alone and left to die.
Well, that's what happened to our very first guest this evening. Whilst diving off the coast of Mauritius, he was stung by 5 box jellyfish and was pronounced clinically dead.
Ian Mccormack, welcome. It's good to have you with us.
That's wonderful.
Let's go right back to when you were diving off Mauritius. How did it all begin?
Can I just say, but Ian, I'd love you just to say a little bit about your lifestyle, just the lifestyle.
Yeah, give us all of it.
For our viewers out there.
Yeah, my lifestyle was pretty much one of just travelling, surfing. Yeah. Very much outdoor person, but yeah, a real womanizer, a real party person, and so my background was pretty heathenistic, and it's to say the least.
So you were in Mauritius, and tell us now. Just share your testimony tonight, as we've got viewers right across the United Kingdom tuning in, many of them for the first time. Tell them and tell us what happened when you were diving off Mauritius.
Yeah, well, I'd come from South Africa. I'd been living and working there. I came back to Mauritius en route to New Zealand for my brother's wedding. And I was living with the local fishermen, the local Creoles, and they used to dive at night. One night I dived at a place called Rivière Noire, and I got stung by 5 box jellyfish. The locals call it invisible, or invisible one. Remember the impact of it. It felt like thousands of volts of electricity. My arms literally swelled up instantly like a balloon. The fishermen told me that one of them would kill me.
Now, how many did you get hit with?
Well, 5 of them.
5?
And I think one, from what I understand, is enough to kill you. As they told me to go to shore, I realized that I was in serious trouble. The toxin was already paralyzing my right lung. I could feel it going into my lymph gland and constricting my breathing.
Did you know how serious that was at the time?
I
Or
just
it was
knew
by their reaction?
By the reaction.
Yeah.
When I saw a black man turn white, I knew that I was in real trouble. You know what I mean?
These are the mates you were diving with?
These are the Creoles.
And Ian, let me just ask you, did you believe in God at all? Did you think about God at all up to this point?
Not really. I was basically just living for the moment, living for sport, for travel.
Yeah.
I checked everything out, but yeah, just on the fence.
So there you go. You're stung by these jellyfish. What the black man, as you say, has turned white and fright.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, he's saying going to shore, and he's telling me to urinate over my arm and to try and, get to the hospital. As I get to the shore, the poison's already paralyzed the right-hand side of my body. I find myself unable to walk properly. The young child, the young boat boy that had taken me to shore, drags me bodily out of the boat. Did a supernatural feat, really, physically.
Now, are you starting to feel the toxins move up your arm?
Well, I can feel it moving to my kidneys and to my right leg, and tinges of it are coming into my eyes. And I realised when I collapse in the boat and he drags me out of it up onto the beach, that I'm going, you know what I mean? He gets me up there and he panics, he turns back to the ocean and goes mon frere, because the other divers hadn't come with us because there was no outboard motor.
How come they didn't get stung?
They had full wetsuits on. To them the water was cold. To me, the water was warm, and I had a wetsuit which came to my elbows, had leather gloves on. So my arms got hit. They also had full hoods, booties. They were protected by the wetsuit.
Sounds like something amazingly unusual was unfolding. I mean, there's...
Yeah, well, when I hit there, the young child left me, ran back down the beach, rowed back out, and I felt this poison literally bring me to a place where I just felt like I wanted to sleep. I remember lying down on the side of the road, and I heard this voice of a man speak to me. It said, "Son, if you close your eyes, you shall never awake again." I looked, and there was no one there. And I thought, how on earth said that? I hadn't any comprehension that I just heard the voice of God for the first time in my life. All I knew was that I was dying, that if I closed my eyes as I heard that voice, I realized, man, I'm going into a coma.
Yeah.
I was a lifeguard, qualified lifeguard, so I knew enough about toxin and Portuguese man of war to know that you can't sleep. You need anti-serum.
You've got to keep yourself awake.
But this poison often kills within 15 minutes. So I believe had I not heard his voice, I'd have gone right there. I just thank God he loves us while we're still sinners, mate.
Yeah. So you must have got quite a surprise. I mean, you're going through a horrendous ordeal. I mean, let's be
real about this. Absolutely desperate to get to the hospital.
Yeah, well, I stood and tried to hobble down the road, you know what I mean? I dragged myself off the ground and I thought, I've got to get out of here. I found some Indian men in some taxis. I pleaded with them to take me to the hospital.
Well, just take a little bit of time on that, because that's quite apt to where you're going to talk to us about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Just talk. We've got a good 10 minutes left in the section, so just take us through that.
Well, they basically wouldn't take me because they had no money. And they actually, looked at me and said, well, you're drunk or something. So I showed them my arm and said, no, I'm dying of a poisonous jellyfish. They said, we have French clients in the restaurant. We don't need a passenger. I said, but help me, please. They walked away. I said, I'll give you money. All 3 of these men stopped. And you realise I'd spoken like the magic word to them. One of them turned and said, how much money you give me, white man? I take you to hospital. I said, well, $50, 100 US. I'm not caring for the money, I'm dying. He said, let me see your money. I said, well, I don't have it on me. All three of them walked, laughing their heads off. As they're walking, I realized that I'm in dire straits. They're not going to help me. And in this part of the world, you can die. Life's fairly cheap as you get into the third world. It doesn't have a lot of significance to people. As I watched them walk, I thought, I don't know what to do now. And I heard this clear voice speak a second time. It said, son, are you willing to beg for your life? I thought, beg for my life. I lived in Africa. I'd seen men go, yes, boss. You know, I thought, I've seen men beg. I've never begged before, but I've got nothing to lose. My left leg was getting weak, so I fell to my knees, cupped my hands, and began to plead for my life. As I began to plead for my life, two of them kept walking. The third young Indian man stopped and walked over to me. Without a word, he helped me to my feet and put me in his taxi. I thought, brilliant. We're going. As we took off towards the hospital, he then began asking me how he's going to get the money. I said, well, you know, I'm promising him money. He's wondering what hotel room I stay in and how I'm going to give him the money. As this is happening, I said, well, I don't stay in a hotel. I live in a fishing village in Tamarin Bay with a Creole. He said, you stay at Tamarin Bay Hotel? I said, no. He said, you lied to me, huh? How I get my money from you? Very angrily, he pulled off the main road and into the small village where I live. As he stopped in front of this Chinese hotel, he said, you get out now, huh? Why you not giving me the money? And I said, look, I have the money. Please. I tried to get out of his taxi because this is in the village where I lived. As I tried to get out, to my horror, the poison had now moved into my left leg. My entire lower trunk was numb. As I'm looking at him, I said, look, mate, just help. He took my safety belt off, opened the passenger door, and just pushed me straight out of his cab.
Goodness me.
Now, I'd normally have been able to stop him, but my right arm was paralyzed. As I flew out of the door, I looked up to see that my feet were caught in the door sill. He couldn't close the door. And I watched a man look me straight in the eye, flick my feet out, and drive off. And I thought, no, why would a man do that? For 50 miserable bucks, he'll leave you for dead. I thought, I've had enough. I thought, I've seen enough of this world. Why the heck? As I watched him drive off, I was literally lying there thinking, well, that's it. Oh, I'm out of here. Security guard must have seen the car. He came out, shone a torchlight around the car park, and found me half, in a crumpled heap on the ground. As he ran over, I looked up to see a familiar face. It was one of the fishermen from the village, Danielle, another fisherman. As he saw me, he said, "Christopher, man, what's happening? Why are you like this tonight, brother?" And I thought I was drunk or something. I said, "My arm, envisable." He looked at that and he went, "Pardon, envisable, tac, hein, c'est fini for you." He said, "You died with Simon tonight?" Le Mans? I said, "Oui." He said, "Pardon." Quickly grabbed me in his arms. He carried me into the hotel. The Chinese owners had closed the bar. It was just a really small tourist hotel.
Yeah.
And they were playing a gambling game called Mahjong, huh? And they were drinking their whiskey. Chinese owners looked at me and said, "Oh, you're drunk." I said, "No, I must get to the hospital. I am dying of a very poisonous jellyfish. Sur la plage." They said, "We don't understand you." So I showed them my arm. The Chinese owner saw my scarred arm and instantly thought I must be a drug addict. He thought there must be needles. Surely this young man's been shooting it up and he's a heroin addict. He stood up and laughed and he said, "Oh, you stupid, huh? Why you do the drugs?" I sat down. I thought, what? My hand then began to shake. As my hand began to tremble, I was amazed to see it move up into my chest and into my face, and my teeth began to smash into each other as my body went into muscular contortions. As I'm shaking to bits in front of them, I can see them try and hold me down. I feel an icy cold death go through my bone marrow. I stop shaking and they're putting blankets on me because I'm freezing cold. I'm thinking, I've got to get out of here. I will die if if I don't get to the hospital. I looked to the car park. I saw one vehicle. I realized it belonged to the Chinese owner next to me. I said, "Sir, please take me in your car to Katrabon Hospital or I'll die." The Chinese owner looked at his car. He looked at me and he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Oh, white man, why are you so worried? No, wait for ambulance for you. Why are you so worried? Cannot take my car." I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm pretty laid back by nature.
Yeah.
Reasonably,
Reasonably.
Too many Durban poisons. Oh, I thought, I'll waste this guy. I'll whack him. But my hand won't move. It's paralyzed. I thought, well, I'll try my left hand. I'll give him a headbutt or something.